So I just briefing Lani how we started this group and what is our aim. Uh, don't charge me or don't take me to quote John because I copied something from you in this study circle that we found because Lani's book, which is called The Science of Workforce Engagement, is in two lines, as he says, is to produce a healthy, happy, productive workforce. And then he said, create an environment where each individual perform their maximum ability and becoming the best version of themselves. And that's what it is. It contains 11 chapters. And that's where you come in, Jack, that I divided that into 7 weeks, 1 hour each. But the 1 hour, 60 minutes, turned out to be 90 minutes or sometimes more than 90 minutes. And that's the learning that we did. And it was an experiment on doing collaborative learning. So most of these teachers that we have got Ryan as teachers, because it is not a tutorial. And Lani Wilson has been a football player and a coach, etc., and he knows where to kick us where it really pains. So he has been pretty strict as saying that I'm not going to teach you all anything. So we have to study and come back and do. He termed it very well. Says it collaborative learning. So what would interest these teachers is. And what I like about the sequence that happened, and most of the things that happened is by divine intervention, as far as I am concerned. We have just ended the 11th chapter, and they are exposed to Dr. Desi and Dr. Ryan and all the psychology behind it. We know the systems of workforce engagement. We know all that of saying that this is all what we have to do to see that the organization works. But what is going to happen to us once we adopt workout aloud, because I attended this, what Colleen arranged exactly a year ago, was that you start doing introspection. And this is covered, Lani has covered in deep reflection. This is deeper than that. And one of the best things, John, and the way you have designed it is so amazing, is baby steps initially. The 11 to 12 weeks that you have said, one of the best weeks that I had, which really held me strong during my traumatic year last year, when I was diagnosed with a lot of stupid things and I went through, was the week 7, when you had to write a letter to yourself from the future, as if you have accomplished it. And I remember writing that letter. And I said, I'm going to be healthy. And I said something to that effect. And I kept it with me. And with all the diagnosis was going around my body, I was looking at this letter. I said, I am in the future state. I've already recovered and I'm doing well. And that's the power of Workout Aloud, that it takes a baby step and you build up relationship. I mean, I have been lucky. You're going to hear more from John and not from me because I brag a lot. Okay, I was lucky enough. Of course, Lani would say he's older than dirt. Why do you often say that, Lani? You're just 3 years older than me. Okay, so I'm just 73. So I was just lucky to have met Peter Drucker, who taught me about automotivation. I was lucky to have met Stephen Covey. So I do a little bit of understanding from dependency to independency to interdependency, all that. There comes Tamar. Tamar Nelson, can I have your hands up? Yeah, Tamar is the CEO of Jamaica Productivity Council. She joins us from Jamaica. Okay, so nice we have a lot of people. So, but what I found out is the Workout Aloud, the way you have designed it, and we're going to hear a lot of it from you today, is really amazing, especially the 7th one, how you have integrated, how we share relationship. And I invited Tamar because CEO of Jamaica Productivity, and she's going to launch an awareness program in productivity, etc., for the youngsters in Jamaica. So I said, and she is going to be my guest next month on my Dr. M's launch. So there we go. So I got nothing much to add. I'm just handing it over to you. This is absolutely unstructured, unlike the structure that John gives us in each week. He's very strict about it. That's the time that I really put pen to paper because everything is timed and we have to time it. We don't go 1 hour, 1 minute here and there. In Dr. M study circle, we overshoot, but in this we don't overshoot, right? It is once a week, 1 hour.
Yeah.
John, Ilani,
Dr. M, I'd like to say a couple of words. One is first, you need to invite John more often because we don't normally get all of these people. This is great. Second is John, you should cut Colleen in on your royalties in some fashion. She has been the #1 seller of your book of anybody I know. She's a huge fan, and I can attest to. I call Colleen misconnections because she connects people, and I think every single person on this list I met through Colleen. And if you wanted to look at the Colleen connections tree, so to speak, it's a pretty big group. The one person who maybe I met otherwise was Ashok Motwani. I think we crossed paths on LinkedIn. But other than that, everybody on this call I met somehow through Colleen. Colleen introduced me to Dr. M. Dr. M introduced me to Mohammed and to Ashar Kumar. And I mean, it's just, I have a great deal of gratitude to Colleen for that. And, it would not be completely untoward for you to go to your author's account and ship a box of those to Colleen. She's your best advertisement, I'll tell you. But at any rate,
that can
that
certainly be
said,
arranged.
I'm done. Pardon?
Well, pleasure to meet you. I was saying that could certainly be arranged. And Colleen, I'll deposit the check after the call. I think so. It's a very informal setting. If you've got questions or comments, put them in the chat. I think what might be helpful would be to start with why I made this. Like what problem was I trying to solve? What it's based on, since you've read Lonnie's book, there are my guess is many of the concepts underpinning what I do, you'll find in Lonnie's book. And so I wanted to maybe connect some of the dots. And then where did it go? Because you're using one of these methods that first came around 10 years ago and has evolved quite a bit. But now I know a number of you are in healthcare. So we're doing things in hospitals and factories and retail stores that you probably don't know about. And it's very different from the method that you used, but yet there are some similarities. So I thought I'd talk about that as a way to, where this basic idea or format can go. How does that sound? I think it's nodding.
One other thing, John, if you could include a little bit about your background.
Oh, sure.
I don't think if
who am I?
Just 1 minute. I want to recognize and celebrate Mohammed Musa. He's joining us from Netherlands.
Nice global group.
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm here in New York City.
Dr. M are connecting people. I'll tell you, it's amazing.
I'm here in New York City. I grew up here, and I've worked in big companies pretty much my entire life. So I'm very familiar with the good and the bad of large organizations and how the systems and structures change behavior. And about 10 years ago, where my motivation was that I had a good career until I didn't. And what I realized was that I was playing a kind of career roulette at work, that my success was largely dependent on whether I had my manager liked me or not, whether we had a good quarter, that year at the bank where I worked, a lot of things outside of my control. And sometimes I won and sometimes I lost. And it was at one of these down periods where I said, man, this is terrible for me as an individual, because you never know what's going to happen. So you're constantly trying to seek safety and security in an uncertain environment. And it was bad collectively. The culture was one of defensiveness and anxiety and uncertainty. And it just had to be a better way. So at the time, I had studied computer science as a kid before the internet. And at the time I was able to bring in a collaboration platform into the bank where I worked. It was Deutsche Bank. And so it was 2011, and social media was still good. And we brought in this social platform into the bank. And I thought, this is really going to change everything, because it's the internet at work and I can shape my reputation. So it's not just what the boss says about me. I can make my work visible and show what I could do or what I stand for or what I'm interested in. And I can also discover people who have similar goals or interests or that I like. So it wasn't just about my team and the small fraction of people that I knew out of all of the folks at the bank. So it's very much a technology first. That's where I started. And it became clear pretty quickly that the technology was very helpful, but it wasn't nearly enough. People are busy. They didn't know why they would do it. There was a lot of resistance to saying anything or sharing anything that might get them in trouble, that might be wrong, that might be embarrassed. They didn't have the habits of doing it, et cetera, et cetera. And so what I looked for was, was there a way that we could help people develop new habits of working in a way that was more pro-social, meaning more collaborative, more connected, more human, and where they were making more of their work visible, hence the working out loud. Over time, this method evolves, so there's less and less technology. It's less and less about being loud, but it is more, how do you establish trust and a sense of relatedness with other people in a way that serves you and your goals and also serves other people?
Yep.
And I codified that. I created a structure where, how many people on the call are familiar with self-determination theory? I mean, it sounds fancier than it is. Yeah. Okay. But simply put, one theory about why people do what they do is that we have these innate needs for control, autonomy, a sense that I am an active agent in my life. I make decisions that affect my life. Competence, that I'm learning, growing, getting better, and relatedness. I have a sense of connection to the people around me and to the work that I do that has some kind of meaning. So I didn't start there, but what happened over time is that that's what this method is. It is a way for people to experience self-determination at work, so that, as Dr. M said, step by step by step, you start to fill those innate needs. In week one, you choose a goal. It's this confidential, safe space. There's no boss. There's no test. So you tap into this intrinsic motivation from the beginning. You start to, the whole original method is framed on what is it that you have that might be useful to other people. So there is an element of reflection, but the steps are so small in the beginning that it's pretty trivial. And over time, people gradually become more comfortable with, hey, there are more things that I can offer than I may have thought. I don't have to be the smartest guy or lady in the room. I don't have to be of a certain title. Like I can be me, and there's still a lot that I have to offer. Not to be popular, not to show off, but to be helpful.
Mhm.
And so it's you start with your own goal, which taps into intrinsic motivation. You do it with a small group of people, so that gives you structure and shared accountability and support. You follow a curriculum, so there are actual steps. It's a guided mastery program. You're gradually leading somewhere, and you do it over time. And the method you used is 12 weeks, some are 8, but long enough that some change can happen. You can start to develop some new habits. For some people, they just become more confident and absolutely build a set of relationships. Okay. So in the beginning, it came from a place of my own need, and it was very much focused on the individual and tapping into these 3 innate needs in self-determination theory. Well, what happened, which I did not really expect, was that companies started to use it because this set of behaviors of knowledge sharing, outreach, building of trust and kind of meaningful relationships, actively looking for more that I could bring to the workplace, that I could contribute. All of those things, a sense of initiative and agency. Companies want that. It's good for them.
Mhm.
So what started as something that was almost selfish, can also be otherish, as Adam Grant would say, give and take. And so companies would use it for, just addressing some of the age-old needs that they had, like crossing silos, onboarding new employees, talent development, female empowerment, or other diversity networks. It was a vehicle for, while employees were helping themselves, learning skills, building their networks, etc., they were doing it in such a way that helped the company achieve some of their other goals that they've had for a long time, and doing so in a way that felt good, that didn't feel manipulative or fake, or like I felt when I was playing career roulette. It's like, no, I can be myself. That's enough. There's plenty that I have to offer, and I'm going to actively look for ways to offer it. And along the way, I'm going to build trust and a sense of relatedness with other people, which, again, you fill those needs, autonomy, competence, and relatedness, and like the pilot light goes on a person. It can change it. Like Dr. M said about Lonnie Stark, it's about being alive at work, right?
Mhm.
That's what being alive at work is.
Yep.
Last thing is, so this original method was about networking, about you could almost think of it like a structured way of exploring. I have a goal. Maybe I want a new job. Maybe I'm looking for the next step in my career. Maybe I want to learn about a topic. And this gives me a structured way, week by week, to explore that space via other people. So who else has done it before? Who else has something to say about it? And then what do I have to contribute to them? That formula we now use for other methods. We do it for teams. We do it for, we have a wellness program for resilience, and we do it for operational workers. And so, so for the people that are on the phone in healthcare, you're in an operational environment. It could be a hospital, but it could also be a factory. We're in an IKEA store. We're in Siemens factories in Germany. These are highly constrained jobs. These people do not have time to have a coffee and reflect and go on LinkedIn and share their work, etc. But they have the same needs that we do.
Mhm.
And so what we came up with is a shorter, simpler format, but that's built on top of the same premises. That says, how can you get someone who's, a barista at Starbucks to tap into autonomy, competence, and relatedness to craft their job not to trick them that, oh, do the best you can as a job's a job, or you should like it more, but to say, as long as I am in this environment, here are choices that I can make to improve my experience and the experience of people around me. You don't have to stay there. You don't have to love it even, but we're letting you know that there are some choices that you have. Like you have some degrees of freedom, and there's some beautiful work on job crafting, some research on that.
Mhm.
And again, all that I did is I took what science knows, like Lonnie's book. I took what science knows and I packaged it into a learning method so that you could build skills, change habits, maybe change your perspective, and actually put that science, put what we know about the best of human behavior into practice. And I think I'll pause there and then open it up for questions. What?
Yeah. One of the things that I liked about it is we're not waiting for the culture of an organization to change. The way John has said that in the book, and what I understand from what John has said, that you have the power within yourself to create excellence. You're not waiting and craving that the culture is affecting us. We can't do this, especially for all of us are continuous improvement professionals, right? And one of the greatest script that we have, that we want the culture to stay first and then we'll change later, right?
Right.
I think Workout Aloud gives you a chance that we create our own island of excellence and grow from there. Am I talking sense, John?
Yes, and you're talking sense. Martin Luther King in one of his famous speeches said, if you're going to be a street sweeper, be the best street sweeper you can be. And that doesn't I take that as not condescending, like be satisfied with what you are. It's not that. It says, but as long as you are where you are, here are the tools that you have. Here's the power that you have to make the most of it. And then if you want to, maybe that's enough for you. Maybe being a barista is exactly what you want to do because it fits your life, it gives you flexibility, whatever it is. Okay, you don't have to be more than that. But while you're doing it, here's how you can make the most of you and to get the most of the experience and help the people around you. But one more thing is that, because like you, I'm sick of waiting, right? Waiting for the enlightened CEO, waiting for the transformation program to finish, waiting for and I didn't want to wait. So I made something where you didn't really need permission, didn't cost much, and you could do it. However, you can, if enough people do it, you can put a dent in the culture. And so one of the reasons why I'm focused on the workplace is because, all of us are probably the same, like we're like-minded people. We're kind of preaching to the choir, right? We already believe. What I would like to do is leverage the workplace to reach people that don't already believe, who may be more cynical, who may have had a worse experience at work, who may not be as open-minded, etc. And so someone called the original method a Trojan horse. Like it looks and smells like a work method. Oh, it's in the talent program or it's part of onboarding, etc. It's work. But then underneath it is this thing that can improve how human beings relate to each other. So what Bosch is one example. About 10,000 people have used it at Bosch. And if Bosch, a huge company, so it's still a small percentage. But if enough people have this experience, then once you hit 15, 20% of the company, you really can make a dent in the culture. And that's something I think future work for me is to say, well, how can I take these small groups of 5, right, who are helping themselves and each other and they feel good and how can you scale that so that those groups of 5, that they recognize each other? Oh yeah, you work this way. right, in this pro-social way, and get to a point where the culture tips. And I think that would be very meaningful. I don't know how far I'm going to get, but I think I think there's something to that. I think with the right kind of implementation and structures, we can make a dent in corporate cultures and beyond.
Questions, because I got plenty of questions. I'm going to be silent from now. So should I keep pointing out and say, Ashok, do you have a question? Ryan, do you have a question? Do you want me to prompt? Teachers, come on. Teachers is a word coined by Lani. It is STEACHER, that is a student and a teacher. So right now, if you're a student, keep asking questions.
And oh, hi, Tamar.
So John, quick question.
Okay.
This is Ashok. Sorry if you were
Hi, Ashok.
going to say something.
No, it's okay. No, go right ahead.
So improvement starts from me is one of the phrase that I always believe in. However, there is a divide in terms of, is improvement expected to be driven by the top management, or can it be taken from bottoms up? Different people think different ways. In Work Out Loud, you said something that you reach out to people who are not so enthused, help them to learn things, to ask the questions, because they could be the most helpful in changing the whole wave of improvement, which is typically on the bottom level of the organization, because they typically lose the trust and the respect of top management. They want to hear, they hear 1 year in, 1 year out, if they were given the opportunity, and never do anything to solve their problems. So how do you reconcile this thing, whether you want the improvement to be coming from top or starting from the bottom?
Right.
Thank you.
for that. So that this is a very common question and debate, and like most of these dichotomies, the answer is, well, it's both. So by all means, it would be great if we have an enlightened CEO or the management team comes together and we have some structural changes in the company that make a difference. Yes, enthusiastically, yes, that structures, reward systems, etc., all make a difference. I can't change those. So what I'm doing is two things. One, even if you change the structures and the management systems, you still have to change behavior. Like you still need humans to think of other humans in a certain way.
Mhm.
And so what we do is complement that kind of top-down approach. And if you have a top-down transformation program or other, then Work Out Loud complement it very well with think of it as, if the 20 people in a room decide the culture of the company and have new systems, etc., what are you going to do about the other 20,000?
Mhm.
And Working Out Loud would help to activate the culture because it's experiential learning, right? It's actually changing their behaviors and helping them develop these skills and practice them. That's one. And two is, well, most companies don't have that new set of, they're doing things the way they've been doing them for decades. And so doing things bottoms up, you are at least affecting positive change as much as you can. Even when you're, so it won't be to the degree that you'd like if you had top-down change as well, but it's a hell of a lot better than zero.
Mhm.
And that's how I view it. Ideally, you do both. I've come at it from a bottom-up angle, but what we've done is increasingly try to plant it into formal HR programs so that we're not seen as countercultural or corporate rebels. This is a normal part of the fabric of work. And if this was in your, let's say, your onboarding program, then over time, gradually, you are going to have a greater and greater percentage of your employees who think that this is the way to work, like this pro-social approach to work is much more effective for them and the people around them. So it's a good question. Ideally, we do both, but at least this way, we can do it with or without the existence of a top-down program.
So essentially, somewhere HR needs to be part of this whole program.
Yeah, I think so. We didn't start that way. We started very much, it felt a little bit like a religion, like this is, power to the people kind of thing. And I think Colleen could probably get, and sorry, that came across as cynical. That's not bad. It marginalized what we did. It became something that is only for certain kinds of people or people who have the time for it. And I wanted to reach a broader audience than that in the workplace. Like shop floor workers. You're not going to get shop floor work. Then shop floor workers aren't able to volunteer and take an hour off from the line to do this kind. No, you need the support, the sponsorship. You need to work with the machine, not against it. And I think we'll be able to reach a hell of a lot more people that way.
So it's not something that comes as a revolution. It's something that you have to be patient and work through with minor changes, step by step, making the cultural change.
I think I don't like the word patient, but I think you're right. First, behavior change requires that in terms of these, experiential small steps over time, etc. A psychologically safe space to experiment in. So that does almost by definition require time and space to do that. And my ideal case is that we're not just introducing working out loud at the bottom or lower tier levels, but that it's seen as part of a bigger puzzle. That hey, we're XYZ company, we're the new GE, and we're really looking to transform, our culture. And we've got all of these different ways to do that. Oh, and working out loud is one of those ways to help employees really experience what we're talking about. I think that's when it would have the biggest impact, is when methods like these social learning methods for behavior change are part of a bigger program. They don't have to be, but I think that's when they would have the biggest impact.
John, I'd like to ask a question to Colleen, kind of reflective of something you said. You were talking about resistance, and Colleen put in the chat, the best way to fight the resistance is with data. Could you say some more about that, Colleen?
Yeah, it's one of the five ways that I have decided are the biggest helps when you're socializing this within a company, because as John alluded to, it can kind of appear from senior leadership as threatening if it's not done given an official coverage. So I'll just read through the five, which does include the data, and then I'll explain some of the data that I gathered. Doing working out loud as with kind of this data-driven experiment mindset, and keeping it within those employee resource group or HR communities, so that it appears as has that official formal delivery within the organization, and you don't appear like you're going rogue, trying to start some rogue movement in a Sally Fields kind of a manner. What I also found very helpful was to summarize the ROI, and I'll go into that in just a moment. And also exploring a variety of different communication channels. Everyone's tuned in a different way. So just communicating in a variety of forums. And then that executive sponsorship, once again, going back to that coverage, it does need a certain degree of coverage from, someone like myself who's solidly in the middle. So getting back to data, I just started a pilot, 25 people, so 5 circles of 5, and then start capturing that data through surveys or polls. 94% said it exceeded expectations, and of that 80% went on to begin their own circles. So capturing that data, pulling it into a summary, getting it out there on the newsletter or on the intranet, it starts to pique interest. And then it's that consistency. And as you know, Lonnie, I'm kind of like a jackhammer on the consistency. Just keeping up this method of informing and pulling data in. Another one we did at my site was we had a 60% attrition rate among new hires in the first 90 days. Meaning for every 10 people we hired, we had 4 at the end of 90 days. So that's double the national average, which to me is already high. But that has a very clear cost associated with this. So when we started to include working out loud in the packet alone, and new hires began to join circles, and we created a automated process by which they would form those circles, that attrition went down over the course of a year to 17%. Still not under our 10% target, but that was the only thing that changed in that onboarding experience, was the introduction of working out loud. And when you can pull that into a clean summary, has a cost, return on investment, that's what starts to spread. So now there are 3 pilots going on in ERGs, and it is spreading to other sites. We also won the Innovation Award in 2022 and the Ascend Award for Enterprise Collaboration. So it's getting these, it's like a combination. You have to kind of get awards and communicate and pull data, and it's a constant. It was my second job, but it did spread.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
question.
Questions? I've got a lot
Tom-
of questions.
Tamar raised her hand about 30 minutes ago.
Who did?
Thank you, John. Good morning, everyone.
Uh,
Well, yes, my question is on the whole matter of the challenges faced in implementing the solution. So what is the most typical challenge or resistance that you face, and how do you overcome that when implementing this method?
So the biggest challenge is probably just time. And so if it's, at Vodafone, they would talk about working out loud. We've got this great method. You should really try it. Who's interested? And it's hard work and Colleen's done some of this, but it's hard work to try to market some foreign method and convince people that they should take on yet another task onto an already busy day. So if you flip it instead and say, to mitigate that problem, if you say, no, it's not an extra thing, it's part of the talent program or the onboarding program that you are already in. And then it's seen, it immediately normalizes it, number one, like, oh, this is work. Like if you have to go to an extra working out loud of what meeting for an hour a week, that's when you're busy, that'll be the first thing you're going to throw off your calendar. But if it's part of the talent program, then you just show up every Tuesday, and it's like your boss putting something on your calendar. So
Could it also be that they see the benefit to Is there like the benefit is demonstrated up front?
That's the second, thank you very much for saying that. That's the second kind of learning, which is you go to an audience that already exists, which has a problem they already recognize. So if you go to Vodafone and you say, we've got a hammer, everybody should use a hammer. And they're like, what? You know, what is it? Whereas if you go to a female empowerment group and they're already actively looking for ways to network with each other and to find the next step in their career and support each other, then you're like, oh, I have a hammer and I have a tool that can help you with that. Now, when we talk about onboarding, we use different language. We frame it differently. And we say, hey, your new people can get a sense of belonging and a network, learn how to navigate the company in the first 90 days so that they'll drop the retention numbers. Oh, it's an existing audience with a well-understood challenge. And in Colleen's case, data to support it. And same for talent, same for other, you know, it could be as simple as a, hey, we've many of our customers are global and there's just not much communication between the locations or divisions. And so, oh, well, we're going to have we're going to use this method to purposely form cross-location circles to build these kind of human bridges between groups. Go to an existing audience with a problem they recognize, and then you don't have to market it and sell it and convince them. They're just like, okay,
you're ready for it. Yeah.
That took a long
Gotcha.
time to learn that.
Thank you.
Now, you can you tell me, Tamar, you're doing something for youth, is that right?
Well, it's a national initiative. That's just one of the programs at the center. So we do research, measurement, policy, benchmarking, and there is a consultant with other industrial engineers like myself who would go in and measure, look at the systems that they have in place, identify where the gaps are, and provide solutions in terms of how they can close those gaps to improve their productivity. So looking at short, medium, and long-term solutions geared towards improvement. So we use a number of tools, not any one in particular, but based on the scenario, because I believe that every organization DNA or blueprint, and so it's a cookie cutter approach won't work. So sometimes we have to tweak how and what we do when we go into organizations to help them for them to get the best outcome.
Okay.
Yeah.
John, and Lani, this Tamar is in a very enviable position. That's because she is the CEO of Jamaica Productivity Council. So she is the boss. How advantage is that? Come on, Tamar.
Heavy is the head of one who wears the crown.
So, John, it's theoretical question. I'm curious. I saw your work with Siemens. I saw your work with Bosch, and nobody ever asked me what I did my PhD in. Lani will never remember. Magdaluzzi will never remember. Nor will Colleen remember. That doesn't matter. It was a comparison between German managers and Indian managers.
Oh, how funny.
On how the national culture affects the work commitment and the organizational commitment, in which we separated two commitments. One was the work commitment and the organizational commitment. And we did a comparative study. It took me 6 years to do that study. I'm just taking one point of that. We did something, we built up certain organizational culture as intervening, blah, blah, blah. But the question to you is this, just taking two national culture factor. One is the power distance. The other is individualism and collectivism. You worked with Colleen, you worked with US. There's a lot of skewed towards individualism. Europe is slightly. When you come to India, you come to Japan, collectivism is there. However, the path distance in India, Japan is far higher than what you have in US. How does, I mean, you are working in 60 countries, thousands and thousands of people. And I know the way you have designed it, it appears to be an individual effort that goes into it rather than an organizational effort, as I see it. How far am I from the truth? Where
so
it
there's
makes all this.
there's a lot in that question.
Because they're not asking questions. What am I to do? I'm curious.
Okay, so let me tease it apart a little bit. So first, just about individual and collective. For sure, that's a thing. And my wife's Japanese, so I'm more in touch with how different it can feel for someone to share their work if they're in Japan versus here in New York. It feels very different. How other people might view it might be different. What we try to do, now there are, Bosch in particular has spread, uses working out loud in Japan. But the key is where we frame it as less about personal branding, which is, not something the Japanese would really take to, and frame it instead as this is good for the company, knowledge sharing, quality improvement. So Colleen has made the connection to lean manufacturing and quality and voice of the employee, et cetera. And I think that's the angle that I would take in those cultures, that it's about you, it's about us. And so when you're making these contributions, yes, it may help you, but you're doing this because it's good for the collective. We're going to get to the same place at the end. There'll be the same benefits. And the folks in Japan have the same big three innate needs. They're not, self-determination theory is cross-cultural, but I would frame it differently and I would coach them differently throughout the process. That's one. Two is, by far we have many more people working, using these methods in Germany, Switzerland, Austria, and I have a theory, but I'm not sure if that theory is correct as to why that's the case. You could make a cultural argument and say, the Germans love structure. There's an agenda, et cetera. They're very serious about continuous improvement, something. I don't think that's it. I think it's as simpler that Bosch in Germany was the first company to use it, and they spread it. They liked it and they told their friends. So it was more of a diffusion of an idea via a social network. And they worked with BMW and Daimler and Siemens and many of whom are customers today, and it spread that way. And I think we just haven't found our Bosch of India, so to speak, or Japan, to have that same effect. Did I miss any part of that question?
No. Because I was a director in a German company, pharmaceutical company, so that adds up to my curiosity about Germany, and I studied in Germany. Okay, Ashok, you are in your Ashok Kumar. Ashok Kumar runs a dialysis center.
Really?
And,
that's funny.
yeah.
We have Working Out Loud in a dialysis center.
Nice.
I'm not kidding. It's got a very long German name, which I won't even dare to pronounce, but it's called KFH. Sorry, again in English. I don't even know. But Wall Healthcare is a method. It's designed specifically for healthcare workers. It's much shorter. It's about half an hour. Each session, the circles are only 3 people. So it's something you could do over 2 coffee breaks kind of thing. And it's to give these overworked, underappreciated people a sense that I have a voice, I matter, I get respect, and autonomy, competence, relatedness, to tap into that and see, okay, I know it's busy and I know it's a stressful job, but within that context, here are some things that I can do to improve my experience and that of the people around. So it's interesting that you're in dialysis. That's great.
Sure, Anshul.
Yeah, we have a similar thing with, where are you, Alam? Yeah, Alam. Alam is in Jeddah, and he is just commissioning his hospital called King's College London. Questions from you, Alam. It was a very good opportunity because you're just starting a hospital.
I definitely wanted to ask a very common question. Usually,
What, you are waiting for me to prompt?
no. I ask this question to everyone these days. So, John, so I want to know your thoughts. We often encounter a scenario where actually there's already established culture. There's a status quo, resistance coming from people, and then we try to establish a culture of continuous improvement. In my case, it's totally different. We're commissioning a hospital right from scratch. We have a new team, new CEO, everything is new. So what is your advice on that? How can we proceed so that we do it right the first time?
Yeah, wow. If I had a great solution to give you, I'd be in a different position. I would back to something I said earlier, which is what I do is best thought of as a nice piece of a bigger puzzle. And so I would look for ways, and it could be this healthcare method that I have, or it could be something else. But I would look for ways as part of your new shiny puzzle to really double down on a sense of belonging and respect, of self-determination. Like, can you give, maybe that's a better way to frame it. I would look for ways to give employees the chance to experience self-determination at work, so that it's not, because even in a brand new company, it's like, this is the way you must do it, or here's your timesheets, and here's what it's a lot of what happens at work happens to people. And can you come up with a way for people to see that, yes, that's true, and still you have some control. I'm gonna, if I can, give you a paper real quick. You know, there's a researcher in the US, sorry, I don't mean to name drop, Amy Reshnevsky. I'm gonna send you some links. But the research, I'm gonna send it to you because the research is on job crafting, and a lot of her interviews were in hospitals. And I think I'm convinced that there was something in this research that all I did is I took her insights along with self-determination theory and then just packaged it into something people could do. So you'll read her paper and be like, yeah, that's great. How do we do that? Or like, how do we help people realize? And that's what my thing is meant to be. Let's do it this way. If you send me an email, I'll just send you a few references. And
All right.
Yeah, we'll do it that way. Or I could, I'll Dr. M, I'll share it with you also this way, just if you want to,
Sure.
just some,
Perfect.
further reading.
Yeah.
And then if you want to try a healthcare experiment, I put some other ladies who are doing it in Germany, so their posts are going to be in German, but they're really running with this idea, and they're in a few different healthcare organizations. So that it just might be interesting. That's all. Like just to follow.
Yeah, that's
That would be
great.
great. I'll drop you an email. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, super.
Yeah,
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
I need permission from you all because the hour is up. We didn't know how the hour is up. How long John, do you have for us, and how long can we?
How about, is 15 minutes okay?
Okay, so
I
you
mean,
have
I
15
respect everyone else's
minutes.
time, so if you need to go, by all means, it was a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, for
and
me,
I-
for me, I got no problems. It's dinner time for me, so I just go to have dinner and go to sleep. So I got no problem. It's Colleen,
Awesome.
Ryan, Tamar, of course. Tamar and me, we get confused between the time zones very often. So, Tamar, 15 more minutes is okay. Thank you very much. John.
Tamar's gonna go, but it was a pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet everyone. It was a great conversation. Thank you all.
Nice to meet you, Tamar. Have a
Nice
good
to meet
day.
you too. You too. Have a great one.
Ryan,
Ryan, what's your connection to this idea? What do you think?
I actually really love this idea. It reminds me of a book I read called Never Eat Alone, about
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
the power of
He-
networking.
How funny you mention that. So I mentioned Keith Ferrazzi wrote that book. I mentioned Keith Ferrazzi throughout Working Out Loud. And in 2008, he taught something called the Relationship Masters Academy at the bank where I worked. And it was a weekend thing. There were peer groups. It was great. And I quote Ferrazzi a lot in the book. Again, what did I do? My little bit of value added was, those were great ideas. I wanted to package it in such a way that people could do it in this self-organized way, in a way that could scale. So you didn't just have to be with Keith Ferrazzi or anybody. You can just kind of do it on your own. And it was, and what's nice about that for companies is that they want people increasingly to have self-organization and self-managing skills. So you don't just go to the guru and learn. So Never Eat Alone is totally in line with what you would read. So is Dale Carnegie, so is Adam Grant, so is a bunch of it. It fits very nicely with Working Out Loud. You could just think of Working Out Loud as a method for doing it, and putting those ideas into practice.
Yeah, I love it. And I guess as I've been thinking, it seems like a great approach to get that engagement with the people, especially emotionally. I guess my thought is, after you're done with the 12-week program, kind of what are the next steps? Have you found there are any keys to having that sustained engagement in the different companies?
John, I have a sorry, John.
Yeah,
I
sure.
I have the same problem with a curtain getting closed on the 12 weeks, and I've expressed that to Colleen. I just after the first circle meeting that I had, and the curtains came down on the Workout Aloud. We were just 4 of us, and I told Colleen, what happens after this? Because I felt that I was left stranded. Of course, right now, Colleen has come up by saying, Dr. M, you require 3 attritions. Fair enough, but why didn't you tell me that I required 3 attritions so that I didn't feel that the curtain was down on me? Probably that was a learning curve for Colleen too, because we started first, right, Colleen? And you have moved further on the Workout Aloud, and you have much more circles. Probably Brad Hagman would have told you, because I felt the same thing. I felt that the curtains had just closed on me, and I have expressed myself in the letter. There was some sort of a symbiotic relationship with Lani. I continued my relationship with Lani. Could not do with the others of all what I've expressed, because apart from, as we move in the steps that you said of 12 weeks, there is an emotional connect that keeps building, and irrespective of whether you require it or not, the dependency relation starts building up. You start looking, yes, we do talk to each other, etc. But suddenly the curtain comes down. I don't know whom to reach out to. I mean, I'm sorry, Ryan, I had it in mind, but I didn't want to sound like that because we are going to start work out aloud for the study group, whoever the first batch and the second batch. So we need a clue from you and from whoever, Colleen, whoever.
So I just want to clarify. So when you say the curtain came down, you're talking about after the 12 weeks is over, what happened? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Is that right, Ryan? For you also, like what happens after the circle ends?
Yeah, I was just thinking, if you create that engagement, how do you make sure that you sustain that, it keeps on going?
Okay. Okay, a few things. One, you don't have to. Like for some people, this is it. 12 weeks is a lot and they don't want to sustain it. But like they like their circle, good experience, I'm done. And for those people, there was some research I put in the chat earlier that indicated that they did surveys of one of our larger programs, and the behaviors and the sense of locus of control or psychological empowerment were still shifted 6 months after the circle ended. So the point isn't, hey, you had a really great circle, you love those people, like let's keep the band together. The point is that you change people's habits and how they relate to themselves and other people. And if you've done that, great. That's one. Two is some people join another circle. Like I've joined a bunch. Why would I do that? Because, oh, I have something I'd like to work on. I have a goal. I'm not making much progress, and I need the structure and support and shared accountability of a circle to get me going, right? So it's a help me get uncomfortable things done method that I can do again. And then the third thing is you're about the 100th person to have asked this question. And so I think what I'm going to do is come up with a set of, so many circles just on their own said, hey, let's meet once a month, or hey, let's meet once a quarter. And again, not all of them, but some. And what I'm going to do is create a set of exercises so that there's a structure and a reason for doing it. And this way you can continue your guided mastery program, over time beyond the 12 weeks. So those are three possibilities. Do nothing because you already accomplished the mission. Do another circle, or take advantage of one of these extra formats that on the in development stages. Thanks, Ryan.
John, in my book, The Science of Workforce Engagement, I have a systems diagram in there showing the dynamics of how it fits in. And if you looked at it, you'd see self-determination theory in it, and a couple more things.
I figured it would be in there.
Yeah, if you want, Dr. M, we could talk about how something like working out loud fits into that dynamic model. It fits in a couple places very, very nicely. But I think to the question you're getting at, one of the questions is, do you want to do working out loud for you, or do you want to do working out loud for the organization, or do you want to do it for the synergism that occurs between you and the organization, whatever the organization might be? I mean, the organization could be your family, it could be your business, it could be your friends at the country club. I don't know what it is, but it fits very nicely into that thing. I don't know if you remember, but we had 7 subsystems in the systems diagram, and one of the subsystems was the cultural network, and that's really where working out loud fits in nicely, because as I see working out loud, to me, the major benefit to most people is to find a way to cultivate open, honest, fact-based, empathetic dialogue. And
that's really it.
So wherever you get to that point, Okay, and whatever that will, however that will serve you is something. And I know, Dr. M, even though you may not be able to go to the working out loud scale and and say, well, I went from 4 to 9, but if it enhanced the open, honest, fact-based, empathetic dialogue that you can now participate in, that helps the relationship. If that helps the relationship, that helps synergy. If that helps synergy, things improve, whatever they happen to be. It could be your relationships with friends. It could be your relationships at work. It could be your relationships with your enemies, you know, I guess. So,
Yeah, Lani, I'm with you, John, to address Lani's thing and what we are doing as Doctrines Study Circle. I've talked to the stretchers. We are taking this forward in the study circle on the workout aloud groups. Okay, the 15 or 11 of them, we are going to form circles and we're going to start working on that. Okay, and Lani, you're going to be a part of that working out aloud group. Okay.
okay.
So there you go. The other one that you're talking about, sorry, I take a lot of, that's the reason that I don't talk, and Lani just told me to talk, is way back, John, way back in 1976, when I was 26 years old, I did meet Peter Drucker. And he said, in large organization, don't wait for people to come and hold your finger. Do what he called auto-motivation. Motivate yourself, find out venues where your interest can be served. And believe me, till now, I have been hopping around where my curiosity lies to keep myself happy. That's it. Okay. Now, whether I'm doing it right, selfish, or whatever, I'm a great fan of Virtues of Self-Interest by Ayn Rand. So let it be what it is. To the groups that we have, John is with us, and I'm proposing that our teachers, the batch 1 and batch 2, we talk further and we start moving towards forming the workout aloud circles. Okay, is that okay with you?
That sounds like a plan. And
Yeah.
I see Muhammad has had his politely used his reaction.
Just one quick question.
Before we break, yeah, please.
No, I misinterpreted, Alam. I thought you asked me to stop. So
No, I want to ask one more question.
sure.
So, John, as we start this working out loud circle, and definitely it will not be perfect on day 1, the first session, second session, as we get more clarity. But when do we call and realize that it's not working as expected? What is that trigger point, which may, trigger us to stop what we are doing and reassess what we need to do in a better way?
Okay, I don't know if I have a good answer to that. For sure, there are people who would. Okay, there are different cases of not working. Some not working is, hey, this goal, I'm just not that interested in it as I thought, for whatever reason. And so, for sure, many people over the course of their circle will change their goal or alter it, and that to me is still working, because they're refining their sense of what they want and don't want to do, and that's absolutely progress. So that's very common. Sometimes the circle itself just doesn't work. Like, we were 4 people and 2 people don't show up, and then, and I think, people are people. Like that, things happen. They signed up for it. They didn't plan accordingly. They thought it was going to be something else. Whatever it is, we've certainly had that. It's just, just an open and honest conversation about, is this serving us or not? Maybe we should, so when that happens in a company, we can kind of shift people around. But open communication about, is this what we want to continue? So if people don't show up or logistics are a problem, hey, we're rescheduled for the 3rd time, you just have a little conversation at the beginning of your next meeting that says, can we just check? It's been tough going. We could stop, and that's an option, and that's okay. And do it in kind of a shame-free way, and do it early. The sooner the better. But those are the two major kind of not working that happens. Otherwise, the method itself is just, I've got a topic and I'm searching for things related to that topic, people and content. That's a good use of most people's time if they really care about that topic.
Yeah, Alam, you know that we had 3 batches. The Middle East batch vanished, right? The second batch, we had 15. We ultimately had 2. So we have
Yes.
experienced people disappearing from the sessions. So
Yeah.
it happens.
It happened.
But-
Look, 96% of the people who join a Stanford online course like don't finish it, and it's Stanford. Does that mean the course stinks? No, it means that it's easy to sign up for something that's free, and then so we stopped doing that. Like we just don't do that anymore because of what you experienced. We frame it very differently. We usually have a kickoff where it's very clear what is involved, why you're doing it, what it's for, what it involves, and then
Hello,
people sign up, and we do it that way.
this is he.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, John.
John, thank you very much. And to all the study group members, we follow what Sensei Hijame Obe said. Anybody remembers? So that is Hyde Obe's father. Sensei Hijame Obe said, don't think, do it. And that's what I'm going to do. Let's try it out.
Okay, super.
And then we follow Deming, and we do PDSA. That's it. And Lani is going to be with us. We are not going to leave Lani alone. Lani, I know that you didn't hear me, but I'll give you a ring. John, thanks a
Okay.
lot. Thanks a lot for your guidance and.
Hey, Dr.
know,
M, Dr. M,
yeah.
before you sign off, John, I'd like to get together with you offline sometime and talk about this a little bit
Great.
because you mentioned several things and I might be able to help you. I don't know, and I'm sure you can help me. So
That
so
would be lovely.
being a greedy sort, I'd like to do that.
Maybe we could do a book exchange. How about that? And we could start there. I'd love to send you a book.
Well, I've got your book.
Okay. Then I'm just gonna have to go on Amazon and get yours.
Oh, you have a problem, John. You have a problem.
What's that?
This gentleman called Lani Wilson has written 8 books, and
I did.
one, and you're asking for
I
trouble.
did notice that.
Yeah, and he hasn't sent me a single book so far.
Really?
Okay.
How selfish.
I've tried, Dr. M.
Come on, Lani. Okay, I'll tell you what.
Great.
We're going to capitalize. We're going to capitalize on both of your interactions. Okay, we're going to squeeze both of you all for whatever knowledge that we can get, and we want knowledge that works for us, right? And for the information is that this group, the study group that we have, we are making a field book for Lani, okay, on the science of workforce engagement, so that there's more engagement, and we will do till the next batch where we are throwing it open to the globe. So we are throwing it open to Europe, and that's how Musa will be there from Netherlands, Ryan is there from US. So we're not restricted it to India. We're just throwing it open. We require only 15 people, and then we beat the time zone, and we'll often knock at your door, and John, and we say, help us. And there's one person who has amazing persuasion power, whom I always fall back to, is Colleen over there.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah.
And I love what you started, John. I love what you started. The first Wednesday, you started I Celebrate. I really like that. That is amazing
Yeah.
thing. So the first Wednesday of every month, we said you celebrate. I think that I celebrated Colleen first, and I honestly do. So there we go. And her
Yeah,
2 cats.
that's one of those little things that just I don't have any expectations for. It's just selfishly it's a lovely thing to think of someone and to spread a little positivity on the world. so I like doing it
Please,
myself, and it turns out other
please,
people do
please
too.
get a lot of positivity on LinkedIn, please. On LinkedIn,
Yeah,
please.
Yeah, that is it, yeah. So again, this goes back to, we may not have top-down change, but there are things that we can do within our own sphere of influence and concern. Let's do them.
We'll do
Okay,
that, sir.
to be continued. Dr. M, this is great. Colleen
Thank you.
and
Namaste.
Lonnie, to be continued. I'll look forward to a note from you. We'll connect separately.
You got it. Thank you much.
Take care,
And
everyone.
thank you,
Nice to
Colleen.
meet
Take
you.
care.
Thank you, John. Thank you.